my name's Tim, and I'm going to be doing a podcast on use of rope in emergency situations within the ML syllabus. This podcast is being assessed for the Higher Skills module at Bangor University.
In this podcast, we'll be looking at the use of rope when descending a rock step within the ML syllabus, when and where you should use it, and where it's beyond the ML remit. I'll then take you through the stage of setting up and descending a rock step using a rope. This includes briefing the group, what is about to happen, selecting appropriate anchors, what to look for, how to test these, and then how to tie into them safely. I'll then move on to the rope itself, say a little bit about the rope you'd use, what knots are important, and how to make a few different types of harnesses. I will then take you through how to set up direct and indirect belays, then how to belay the walker. And finally, I'll show you how to get yourself down safely from the top of the rock step. Selecting appropriate ground is really important when leading a group in the mountains. You need to take into account the weather, equipment, and the group themselves. Children, for example, won't do as much as adults, and this should be accounted for. Really steep and rough terrain, such as shown here on this grade 1 scramble on Triffin, are not really within the remit of the ML, and much more in the mountain guide territory. Here again we find more terrain that's not really within the remit, and preferably avoided. Here we have a step that we would use within the remit. Just a little step down here, unsafe to do on your own though, and at the bottom it's back to our road and to our campsite. It's a place to do it, because as you see as I turn around, this is not really a sensible place to try and backtrack and find somewhere else. Again, here's another little rock spot that we came down. This would be another perfect place to use the rope in descent. Again, now down onto safe areas. Briefing the group. Make sure you let your group know what's going on and why you're doing it. Use of rope can increase anxiety as it implies climbing. This is a walking group and not a climbing group, and thus imposing on some of the walkers. It is important to keep the group safe while you're occupied setting up anchors and belays. Keep the group together to the side away from the edge. It is important to be able to see your group at all times while setting up the anchors.
Extremely important part of setting up your rope, belaying down, having a direct belays, is getting a good solid anchor. Now I'll spend a little while having a little look around and showing you some good and some bad anchors.
When selecting anchors, they must be safe. This is key. You're a group leader looking after the safety of others, and this really must come first. There are three main types of anchors: boulders or spikes, threads, or trees.
Selecting an anchor from a straight board like this, you need to look for take it around where it can't ride up, and when selecting the size, this is perfect. The size you really go for is about the size of someone Here we've got a perfect spike. Again, huge rock, never going anywhere, solid houses. We find an example of the thread. You can see it's easy to loop the rope through, round and out the back, and then tie it and come off here. You can see you need to check, as I said before, nice and solid, no give at all in it.
Finally we have a tree. This is again a nice solid object, not going to move. Tie it off, throw it down, nice and safe.
Spike, perfect round, great there. Got to test it, of course. Give it a test. Start little kick. Unsafe, that one. Thumbs down. Bring it around to the side here. That is sharp. I know you can't feel that, but you can see it. That is sharp. A rope on there, bit of movement, cut straight through. We'll carry on from the rope, and we'll talk a little bit more about knots. There's three basic knots: the Thompson, the overhand, and the adjustable waist loop. For tying in, we generally just use a simple overhand knot, which is the most simple knot in the world. Round, massive loop, bring through. Simple, alright? Then for tying this in, actually, we've got the simple knot. Bring the rope around the waist, loop through, round and follow it around. So, to do this, you loop it up, follow the rope around, it wraps around like that, across, and then through, and you've got a double knot. that's not going anywhere. You've got a solid loop. If you do this, have it around the waist, not going anywhere. Also use this exact same knot for tying around an object. If you're doing it around a tree, use it like that, or for around a spike, or around a boulder. This is for making the Thompson knot. This is a much more secure and strong knot for holding and belaying someone down. It's generally used for smaller people or people that are really worried.
Now for the rope, we measure slightly above the height, a little bit bigger for a bigger person. Then we form 2 loops around the size. Take these loops, tie them both together, so we end up with a knot with 4 loops coming off it. 2 of these loops for the legs, 2 of these for the arms. Small little overhand knots put in the leg loops, as shown here, to make them smaller and snugger for around the legs and decrease the chance of slipping. In this video I made the knot a little bit low, but this is simply rectified by loosening off and moving up to around the height of the sternum. The next 2 loops are put over the shoulders, one through each arm and over the head, same on both sides, and then the knots are tied at the back. When put in tight, this holds nice and secure. Knots tied in the end to keep the rope out of the way. Because of the height on the person, it stops swinging and penduluming.
So here, if we're doing the body belay, we're nice and tied in. We've got to make ourselves safe as well though. There's no point us falling over the edge. We make a loop partway up the rope, bring this around, and again, main knot we use, simple overhand. There you go. Solid. Make sure it's nice and tight. That's solid. Don't need fancy knots, that's good enough. Now, when I move to my belaying spot, can't have all this slack. Bring back in again, same thing. Make a little knot, partway along the rope, just takes out some of the rope really, slows it down, and then I'm ready to put this on my back, feel that, it needs to be tight. Okay, now for 4 minutes of belay, bring it around the side, cool. So our climber's coming up this end of the rope up here, to our point, I'm all safe. I'll bring this around the back, starts under there, and wraps it around like this. I pull in, there. See that movement? We have it wrapped around to cause as much friction so the climber can't pull it. So we have it around there, and it's this action of push me, pull you, like that, pull the end and bring it down, push, pull the end, bring it down, push, the end, bring it down. Starting the process as a whole for a direct belay from an anchor. We tie in, as I showed before. Perfect. Now for belaying, we found this is a perfect thread to use as direct belay. As I said before, completely solid, not going to move anywhere. We take it around, so it can't, because this lip, it can't ride up and fall over. And I'd, there, direct belay. My man's on the end. As he starts to climb, pull it up, there, marry them together. Solid movement. Go, marry them together. Pull up, put them together, making sure you can look over and check. Here we are at the top. We need to get our walker to the bottom. Over here, instead all roped in, nice and safe. Got all this ready. Climb as you will. It's dictating at our pace. Nice, slow movements. Your walker's at the bottom, but your climber, but you are still stuck at the top. How are you going to get down?
Here is setting up the South African belay. Loop the middle end around the waist, around the rock, and then loop it around your waist, through your legs, and held at one side.
Take the trees. When we come off, hold in, loosen off. There's a lot of friction, you can hold your weight.
Simply control your speed by moving the rope across your side and loosening out rope. Simple way of descending. This podcast is aimed at novices who are first learning the skill and the cognitive phase of learning. It's best to observe the video to try and gain the correct movement cues and then practice these with a person of a similar ability to yourself. Try to gain augmented feedback from an expert wherever possible. When practicing these skills, try to randomise them between practicing other aspects of the ML, such as navigation and map reading. Randomised practice like this is found to help retention. It's also best to practice in the environment you would perform the skill in, so in the real world, preferably under pressure. It's not always practical for this type of skill, however, so practicing on your stairs like this is also a great way. Hope you find this podcast useful. Please leave any questions you have, and I'll try to get back to you. Thanks for watching.